Hello, welcome to AM Whiskey Reviews. I am your host, Ben Rosenthal. Today we are reviewing an old standby, J&B Scotch. Stands for Justerini and Brooks, or if you like, Jewish booze, because this was very popular with Jewish Americans back before you could get single malt whiskey. This was their drink. It was like if you were a guy who was, say, playing pinochle in the Catskills till 3 in the morning, and then, on Monday you went back to New York in your job at the store selling adding machines, and you got your hot knish in the morning and your stuffed derma for lunch, but your wife would stay up there all week and would be uh, doing the beast with two backs with one of the waiters, or like one of the sort of more hunkier waiters up there for the summer. But the husband would be down. It would be this guy, and he would have the Jewish booze. He would have the J&B, or he'd have Cutty Sark. There's the Cutty Sark and water, J&B and water, J&B and with soda. That's what they would have. This is the kind of guy that was like an entertainment. He was a small-time entertainment agent. He owned two or three track suits. He wanted his dream was to have a house in Palm Beach, Palm Springs. He took one trip to Acapulco, and he was still telling stories about it. He was like, if you just picture like a really hairy Jew on the beach, he was like the hairiest guy on the beach. The sunblock all over his chest, but it's just, he didn't even need it because he had so much hair. It was completely opaque. There was no way the sun was getting through that. He's up there playing pinochle. His name is, I don't know, like Herb Kaputkin, Irv Kaputkin, or, Barry Kleinbaum, or, but like even more, Jewier than that. We're just talking like major Jew. And not a guy that ever went to temple really. Like he's closer to the sort of Abe Rothstein, the guy who fixed the 1919 Black Sox the scandal. He's closer to that guy than some sort of kindly, sort of rabbinical guy. He's a guy. He's just got a lot of hair. He looks like a gorilla. He just looks like a gorilla, and he's a gorilla who wears canoe. There was a cologne. I don't know if it was pronounced canoe or canoe, but I think they call it canoe. And they people wore this cologne, like aqua velva and canoe. And he was just, if you could imagine a gorilla that liked cologne, and J&B Scotch. That was the drink for this guy. This is a guy who, he tried to get, who did he try to get to come to his daughter's bar mitzvah? Like, he was on the phone with Tom Jones's agent, and he thought he was going to be able to get Tom Jones to show up there for his daughter's bat mitzvah, so he could sing Delilah, or but he couldn't wrangle him up. He couldn't use his connect. He even wanted to intimidate him. He wanted, he had some like Louis Lepke kind of tough Jew mafia connections that he was going to try to employ. But he himself, this guy, this Herb Kaputkin, or whatever his name would be, Barry Schatz. Maybe they'd call him like Steamin' Barry Schatz, because he'd get really angry when he would play, 5-card stud, or again, the pinochle tournaments. And it just, he smoked like not White Owl cigars, but those kind of like Tiamo cigars. He always had one of those in his mouth. Stinking breath, just Scotch and cigar breath and canoe. So you got those three fragrances in the air. It's thick. Um, and he's probably had some side action over the years. He's had a side piece. He's had a pied a terre. He wouldn't call it maybe he would call it a pied a terre. He probably uses that kind of language. He's a guy that, like, he was 55 when he was born. You can't picture him being young. You really can't picture him being young. He's not anti-war. It's Vietnam, but he's not against the war. He really is, on some level, a very, very proud American. He's much more American than people who have been in the country for a longer period of time. That is this Herbie Kaputkin. Again, he's got a lot of tracksuits. He owns a lot of velour. He sometimes, if he's feeling a particularly festive, he'll wrap a little scarf, like Mr. Howell, or the Roman Castevet in Rosemary's Baby. He wears that scarf sometimes. That's if he's feeling kind of classy, like if he's feeling like classing it up that night. But they always have his drink ready. They have his J&B and water. I don't know if he takes it on the rocks, but they've got the boiled beef. They got the stuffed derma. Maybe if he's feeling particularly creative, he'll mix this with some Dr. Brown's Celery soda. That's a drink. He might go for that. He ties on with a little too much of this. In the morning, there's some cold borscht. He can get that. This resort is his home away from home. But then when he comes back to New York, he's back selling the adding machines, and his wife is just bonking away up there. She's just bonking away. She's got a stable of 3 or 4 busboys and waiters, and they're not truly attracted to her, but they're kind of making their bones, no pun intended. They're like, this is a rite of passage for them. And they're gonna, she's kind of buxom, she's got she's womanly. And so, this is an experience for them. And it all comes back to this. Now, the worst thing that can happen to the wife, okay, is if Herb ties on with too much of this stuff on, say, a Saturday night, and he's just gone. Sunday is lost. They can't even get him out of bed. He's going to have to stay an extra day. She's thinking about, oh my God, I can't wait till Herb goes back to the city. And then there's going to be, Sydney, the junior waiter who, the waiter in training. And I gave him the keys to my room. I gave him, but now he's not going to be able to knock. He's not going to be able to show up, because if he shows up, he's going to find this big fucking gorilla, my husband, the gorilla with the canoe on, in the bed, instead of him being able to get into that bed. And it's all down to this stuff, because that stinking gorilla guy who sells adding machines and eats his stuffed derma, he kind of licks it off his fingers. He's a total pig. He tied on too much. He just couldn't lay off of the J&B, couldn't lay off of the Jewish booze. And so now he's passed out on the bed. He's got an erection. He doesn't know who, nobody knows how, but it's just this giant, disgusting thing that's sticking up next to his navel. And so, like, young Sydney, the waiter in training, he knocks on the door, and then the wife is like, don't come in, he's here. And of course, Herb is in some other, he's in the land of, he's in some netherworld where Paula Prentice and Capuchin and Gina Lollobrigida and all the real sort of class broads of the 60s entertainment circuit are dancing like sugar plum visions, while he's got this ridiculous you know, cut foreskin boner, and he's reeking of canoe, and the lava lamp in the corner is reflecting off of his chest hairs, which are like Brillo pads, and this poor hard up waiter who finally the woman dangled the keys in front of him, like, my husband's going back to New York in his adding machines. He sells adding machines on Houston Street. uh, you know, like, and he goes back and has his sturgeon normally, but he's up here, he's stuck up here because he just, the fucking idiot, just got way too blasted on J and B. That's this drink. Okay. Thank you once again for joining me. No pairings to speak of, but I look forward to seeing you next time. Over and out.